MovieWeb.com.
Ever been to a sleep clinic?
I don't need a sleep clinic to tell me I'm a sleepwalker.
From what you told me, you're more than just a sleepwalker. If you're a parasomniac.
What's a parasomniac?
Well, someone who can do just about anything while they're sleepwalking.
It happened again last night.
So where'd you wake up this time?
Can I ask you a favor?
You promise this isn't some wacky thing you're into?
No, it just keeps me from wandering off.
I slept with my best friend's wife while I was sleepwalking.
Were you too tired to drive home last night?
You were sleepwalking while we were kissing?
I never meant for this to happen.
What did we do?
You ever feel like you did something really bad that you couldn't remember?
What do you think you did?
What's wrong? Anne's missing.
I'm afraid that we found a body that matches her description. There were, multiple stab wounds.
Detective Kerwin wanted to ask you a few questions.
Where were you the night she was murdered?
I was sleeping.
So first thing I wanted to ask you about Alan was I was reading the production notes that you sort of had read some articles about people with sleepwalking disorders who actually had committed crimes, committed murders in their sleep, and that you're sort of fascinated by the idea of these people not being conscious of their own actions. So I was just curious what sort of spawned the idea of this sort of mystery film and what made you think, oh, that would be a great idea for a movie?
Well, I read about different sleepwalking cases where people had murdered people, they had slept with people, they had driven places, all kinds of things. And I just think for the average person that it's sort of a terrifying concept to think that you could be out of control. And I mean, of course, for all of us, there are episodes in our lives where we're just like, I was out of control. But but for it to go to that length where you're doing things that you would never do if you were in control, to me, that idea was kind of a terrifying one and worth exploring in a film.
And then you had the idea to sort of put it in this kind of mystery, wrap it in this sort of mystery thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I thought if someone was going through this, that they would, as they are trying to experience and figure out what's happening, that it would be an interesting journey for the audience to be right there with them and to have to look at clues and look around each corner and to meet people and not really know, like, who are they and what could their motivations be. So I just thought, yeah, that's kind of a fascinating journey to go on. So that's sort of what began me writing in my sleep.
Yeah, and then Philip, I want to ask you, because it's such an interesting character that you get to come in and play with. He's really he's afflicted by this and really haunted by the ghosts of his past, as it turns out. So could you talk a little bit about approaching that aspect of the character?
What was great about working with Alan was we talked about these things called core lies in people's lives, and we all have these core lies in our lives that we act out of that we don't even know. So it kind of was a psychological representation of the sleepwalking in everybody's life. And so we have these things that we have lies that we've been told or lies that we believe that just sit there inside of us and eat away. And Marcus is acting out of several of these places, and they influence decisions, they influence relationships, they influence who you end up with and who you don't end up with. And so we really explored what those things were in these people's lives and all the characters and the different actors that we worked with. And it was just kind of this psychological representation of sleepwalking and being out of control. So as an actor, it was just it was a great adventure to go on, because we were exploring all this stuff that was. So if you say this, really, is that coming from you, or is that coming from the fact that your father did this and your mother didn't do this and you said that to her? And so there was all these steps to get to saying a line. And it was a great experience.
So it was really layered. Everything's
totally
layered.
really
yeah,
layered, and really just the exploring that went on is so satisfying, because a lot of times you're just like, I say the line, but there was always meaning to it.
Well, and you have some amazing scenes with Beth Grant, who plays your mother. So tell me about doing that, because they were pretty intense, those scenes.
Yeah, they are. I mean, obviously the relationship in the script influenced how we played these scenes together. But Beth is just she's a wonderful person, and she's a phenomenal actress. And so we would really get into this place where we were, what it was like to be, just at battle with each other, and to kind of explore what it meant to be just so frustrated but still so in love because she's your mother.
Right.
And not to understand where your mother's coming from, and then to start to dig. And as you dig, all the skeletons kind of start to come
because there's all that underlayered stuff, yeah.
And even in preparing to shoot those scenes, I had them improv the beginning of the scene. So we weren't even rolling the cameras at that point. But we said, here are the issues that you're working through, and now go talk about them. And so they talked, and we eventually we started the camera, and then they from that point started doing the lines in the scene. So they both there are many moments in this film where people had to get to sort of deep emotional places. So we often got there by just sort of revving up emotionally by doing work off screen.
Oh, that's great. Oh, wow.
Which doesn't happen all the time, so it's lovely to be in a place where that freedom is there.
Yeah, because that's from a lot of your other experience on television and film, and that's not
Right
really...
away, let's go.
Right?
No, it was great, that the freedom to do that comes from the director and the producer. I mean, that's second to none. It's great.
Yeah, and it's my first film, so I thought this is the way you do it.
Right.
The actors out there going, I'm working with Alan Wolf.
But part of what we did at the very beginning as part of the rehearsal is I wanted the performances to be very fresh and very on the edge, so I didn't want to over-rehearse things. So what we did in the rehearsal process is we rehearsed all the scenes that are not in the movie. So anytime that someone refers to something that happened, we improvised those scenes. And so there were actually moments where people were like yelling at each other or crying, and they were building the sort of emotional blocks for their characters. And it really sort of paid, there's some moments in the film that I know I appreciate because I know that those moments happen because of the work that the actors are willing to engage in as part of the rehearsal process.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, and then I wanted to ask you about the mystery of the film a little bit as well, because as a director, it must have been sort of difficult to juggle that. I mean, you, at one point, the audience sort of has an idea of maybe, I don't want to give anything away, but maybe who the killer is. And then there's sort of a red herring that dismisses that.
Right.
And then, later we find out that that was the case. So how do you sort of juggle that without giving away too much too early?
Right. And what you just said you won't put on, right?
No.
Here's the ending! Now go see it! No, it was, when you were talking, all I could think of is, he's talking about the ending, he's talking about the ending.
Well, I'm trying to be very, I was trying to be very careful.
I forgot your question.
Well, it was about sort of the... designing the film so that the mystery doesn't give away too early.
Oh, I see, right.
Which, and I definitely don't think that I gave away the ending right now either. I was very careful with my wording.
Oh, of course, yeah, absolutely. So, definitely the challenge of writing a film like this is to give the audience enough clues but not reveal ultimately what's happening. And I try to sort of do that by showing everything from Marcus's point of view, so that when Marcus discovered something, the audience would discover it at the same time. And it's definitely a careful process of figuring out what to show and what not to show. But even in writing the script, I tried to sort of see it from his frame of mind. And I actually showed it to many people before I sort of locked it in, because it had so many sort of intricate pieces that really have to come together for the puzzle of the movie. I knew that I needed to make sure that it made sense to the audience, and so I went back and did some tweaking to things here and there. But yeah, it's a challenge, but hopefully it's a challenge that we met in the film.
Yeah, great. And then I just wanted to finally ask you, Philip, about working with some of the other cast members in the film. You have great scenes with Lacey, and so I just were wondering about that.
I mean, yeah. I mean, like I was saying earlier, it's just when you luck out and you get a great script, and you get actors who come on board who understand the characters and who understand that you're really lucky to be in a position where there's great words on the page, there's great people behind the creativity and things like that. It kind of just happens, and hopefully, there's the freedom in which to just kind of just walk through it and see what gets caught on camera. And it really did, the process of doing the improv work and the process of just trusting all the actors and actresses, that helps immensely, because you can just you can off-road a little bit, or you can bring it back, and everyone's on the same page all the time. And so it just helps create something that's believable in the end.